All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you, just like me. Sad news about the band Aerosmith, according to guitarist Brad Whitford, who sat down with guitarist Joe Bonamassa to talk about Aerosmith and his career. Whitford says he has doubts about Aerosmith ever being able to perform live again. Now, I consider that breaking news because really the band had lined up a bunch of gigs prior to the lockdowns and so forth. And now they're kind of being held hostage by these dates that keep getting pushed forward. Um, Whitford was talking about Aerosmith's plans for a European tour, which again was supposed to be in 2020 and then moved ahead to 2021 and now 2022. Um, he goes on to say they tried to plan one last year. They're talking about next year. He says it's a pipe dream right now. Nothing's really going to happen for a long time. He says sometimes I'm not sure what my partners are thinking when they think that's going to happen. He says there's another interesting thing about going to Europe right now that it's hard to get work visas. That's going to be a whole other nightmare. I mean, I have doubts about Aerosmith ever really performing again at this stage because he says age is becoming a real factor. And it is what it is. Of course, back in 2016, drummer Joey Kramer admitted in an interview with Rolling Stone that health issues faced by members of the group, including his own heart scare in 2014. And then, of course, Joe Perry, who collapsed on stage, which was really scary, make it harder for them to perform the way they used to. Then, of course, Kramer had the issues playing drums in general during the Deuces Are Wild residency in Vegas. He actually sued the rest of Aerosmith in a bid to be able to perform with them. I said at the time, I think they ought to let him perform, but to no avail. He did eventually get back into shape and get out there and perform with the band. But I don't know, Aerosmith to me, the great underachiever band when they still had a lot of youth and energy. I'm talking about, say, from the year 2002 to maybe 2015. I understand the industry had changed, but they could have made a ton of money out on the road. They have this amazing catalog of music that spans basically 3 decades and concluded with a song from the Armageddon soundtrack called Don't Want to Miss a Thing, which, I mean, for better or worse, that is such a huge kind of like final contribution. I know they had a couple of records that came after that, but that was a really surprise hit for the band in the sense that they were going into new territory doing this pure power ballad thing, and it worked for them. It just worked. It was in a movie that was successful, and you can't argue with how good of a song that was. But really, if you're an Aerosmith fan, I grew up in the Boston area, and just pick an album pretty much. I mean, there were some duds, but the 70s were just amazing for Aerosmith. Their mid to late 80s revival was something that nobody really saw coming, but again, points to really the talent of these musicians, especially Steven Tyler, who has a very large ego and I think always wanted to be the American version of Mick Jagger. And I think he pulled it off for the most part. He's very entertaining to listen to. Growing up in Boston, you had these two amazing frontmen, Peter Wolf and Steven Tyler. And to me, they were kind of interchangeable because they were just so crazy and off the wall. Of course, substance abuse, I think, really affected Steven Tyler and the rest of the guys to a point where they were so dysfunctional that when they came back, their album was called Done with Mirrors. That's how bad things were. At least they were admitting what they were into. But again, it's just sad news because mortality and aging, rock musicians who, created music that's not necessarily easy to play live or isn't soft rock per se. Joey Kramer back there a couple of times looked really like you could see it in his face that he was struggling keeping up with this because it's difficult. And especially, the touring schedule that these bands used to have, there's no way they can do that now. But they could have put on maybe 50 shows a year, maybe 75 shows a year. But they didn't take that, opportunity when they had it. And then later on, they figured, hey, let's do this Vegas thing, which is a big payday. And then now it appears because of the lockdowns that they're not going to be able to get the old machine running again. So sad news about Aerosmith, amazing band. So many great songs and really defined a generation for so many people who are into rock. And they're one of the best ever. And by the way, Aerosmith is a group effort. All of these guys are very important to the band. So yeah, anyway, that's my video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell if you want notifications on new videos. And yes, you can join Patreon for $1 a month. We've got some new June subscribers. I'd like to get a few more this month. We always have a little bit of turnover at the end of each month. So I have to put it out there because it really does help the channel stay vibrant. This is what I do, so I appreciate the help if you can do it. I don't know if anybody's doing this quite the way I'm doing it. Some would say that I'm not very polished, but that I think is part of the appeal. So yeah, keeping it simple. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.